Good morning, everyone. We're B'siyata D'Shmai, continuing in the Bas Ayin. We're up to Parshas Ki Savo. As we mention every week, the learning should be Luli Nishmas Tzadik, Ravram Doiv, Ben Rab David, Miavarich. We're up to the second piece in Parshas Ki Savo. The Bas Ayin is going to focus on the pasuk V'lakachta Mereshis Kol Pri Adamah. V'yesh L'daktek. Bas Ayin says if you look at the pasuk, there's a problem. Amro, it says Mereshis Kol Pri Adamah. When bringing Bikkurim, you have to bring the first of the fruits of the ground. But the Bas Ayin says it's not correct. Bikkurim is you bring the fruits from the tree. Hala ikar ha-bikurim, hayum pri eitz. So why are you telling me bring the fruits of the ground? The ikar bikurim is the fruits from the tree. So it should have said, v'lakachta mereshis kol pri ha'etz. U'lefar zeh al derech ha-musar. The Bas Ayin is now going to teach us a very important idea in Musar and Avodas Hashem. Hine Omer Chazal, Al Posik Tatshe Eretz Desha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told the earth to bring forth grass, eitz pri, a tree that's pri, oise pri liminoi, that makes a pri according to its min. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tzivul Adamah. Everybody knows the famous Rashi, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu commanded the ground, shetoitzi eitz shetia tamai kipri. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu commanded that the tree and the fruit should have the same taste, which means that the fruit from the tree should taste just like the tree. Today, obviously, we don't eat the tree, but lu yitzu, you could eat the tree. If you taste the tree, it doesn't taste like the fruit. V'aretz lo kein asasa, and the earth did not do this. V'avuzet nislatia, and because of that, the earth was cursed. That's the famous Rashi, the famous Medrash. Everybody knows that Hashem wanted the earth to bring forth trees that produce fruits that eitz and pri tamei shav, and it didn't do it. Vihine. So based on this Medrash, the Bas Ayin teaches us Vihine brias oilam hoisa bechinas yoytze or baruch harshach. The way Hashem created the world was yoytze or. Hashem created light, and Hashem then created darkness. Hainu, which means shayitzira hoisa bechinas or. When Hashem created the world, it was in an open fashion. Nothing was hidden. Technically, there was nobody around at the time, but if there was, you could have seen it. Hashem didn't create the world in a hidden fashion. Afterwards, HaKadosh Baruch Hu nasa bechinas choshech. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made the world in a concept of choshech, meaning bechinas hester. At the point that Hashem finished creating the world, Hashem created what's called hester, something that's hidden. Hashem hid the real function of the world, as we're going to see in a second. Shenistar or Eloki v'nasa choshech. When Hashem created the world, you were able to see, says the Bas Ayin, Elokus. There's a famous story with the Lev Simcha. Lev Simcha was once looking at a river flowing, and they asked him, the Hasidim asked him, what are you looking? He says, what do you mean? I see the name of Hashem. I see Yud Kei Vav Kei. Now, obviously, us, at least myself, when I see water, the river, I see water. But great tzaddikim, when they see things, they see Hashem. When Hashem created the world, it was a concept that when you saw a table, you didn't see a table. You saw Hashem. Then Hashem created what's called Hester. Hashem hid the Or Elokei, so then when we see a table made out of wood. We see a chair. We see a car. Bechinas shochach. Sheyochel liyo shichacha. That Hashem created in this world the concept of shichacha. Sheshacheach Adam, which means that a person forgets ikar kavana sabriya lama hoisa, that a person forgets the ikar kavana of the creation, what the purpose was. The purpose of creation is to serve Hashem. Shakol or niver elokvoid, everything was created only for the honor of Hashem. Everything in this world, eating, drinking, business, sleeping, is all for Hashem. The loyal tavas adam, but not for a taiva. You know why you go to sleep? Not because you enjoy sleeping. You go to sleep because you're exhausted and you can't learn, and therefore you put your head down for 20 minutes. So now you refresh yourself. Why do you eat? Not because it's a geschmack, a piece of steak, or it's a good piece of salmon, or whatever the food you want. It's only to give you nutrients to serve Hashem. Business, why do you work? You don't work that you could buy out a nice suit. Your working was completely for avodas Hashem. Umachmas godel hester. However, because of the great hester, a person normally forgets and does everything for his taiva. Yeah, along the way he says, "Yeah, I'm also eating to serve Hashem." Why do you put that extra little caramel on the coffee? Because it tastes good. But really, you don't need it. Yeah, I know it tastes good. So it's not 100% Hashem. It's 99% Hashem and 1% for yourself. Which halavai we are at that level. But when Hashem created the world, it was 100% Hashem. We know that Amalek is a concept of shichacha, a concept of being cold serving Hashem. That's what the pasuk warns us. Timche es zecher Amalek. Loi tishkach, don't forget Hashem. So we translate zecher as zecher Amalek, which we just learned, which Mamish just read last week. Loi tishkach. So we said, don't forget the commandment of destroying Amalek. Bas Ayin says Loi tishkach means don't forget what Amalek is trying to do, which is Loi tishkach, that you should forget. The purpose of us in this world is that everything that we do should be l'kavod Hashem. Whether it's moving your hands, whether it's taking a walk, everything has to be l'kavod Hashem. And that tzaddik was constantly connected to Hashem. Every movement that he does is for Hashem. In the future, naturally, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu reveals himself and Mashiach comes, nobody will be shichacha. Everybody will know what 100% that everything is for Hashem. So Memela there won't be Amalek because it's a contradiction. And all the things that a person does when Mashiach comes, Amen Kain Yiratzayin, will be only for Hashem. 100% for Hashem. Not 99.9, not 99.999, 100%. The asik, the business that a person does in this world, is Gashmi. Everything that a person does in the world is technically Gashmis. And that's called eitz. This that he's able to learn, and he's able to daven, because he ate and drank. This that he had the funds, the money to be able to buy stuff because he worked, that's called the pri, the toitzais. The toitzais of what you do in this world is the fruits. And the fruits is what brings us to avodas Hashem. So let's explain. When a person goes to work, Reb Simcha Wasserman Zatzal, the son of Reb Elchanan, Hashem Yimkum Damai, used to say that, why do we work? We work so we can make chalent. We work so we can have chalent. That's really the avodas Hashem. Which he meant to say that all the working that we do is really to buy clothing and food. Why does a person work? Because he needs basic necessities. He has to buy clothing, he has to buy food, he has to pay for his utilities. So that's why he works. Otherwise, if he didn't have to work, he wouldn't work. So ultimately, our working, he said, should be l'kavod Shemayim, that we should be able to buy food for Shabbos. We should be able to do Torah mitzvahs. The gashmis, the work that we do in this world, is called a tree. The tree is the main thing that produces the fruits. So what produces the fruits? The business, the working, the paycheck. The toitzas of using the money to buy stuff, that's called the pri. V'hine mitchila in the beginning. So therefore, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu commanded the world, so now we're going to go back to the medrash that we brought, that Hashem told the world to bring forth a tree that tastes like, and the fruits should taste like the pri, which means that when you eat the orange, it should taste, and the tree should have the same taste. So when you eat the apple and the tree should have the same beautiful, sweet, crisp taste. What does that mean, says the Bas Ayin? Bas Ayin says that really what it was, when Hashem created the world, that the gashmis and the ruchnis would be the same. When I worked, I didn't see whatever business I was doing. I saw Hashem. So Va'ata now says the Bas Ayin Mentchila Tziva Kodesh Baruch Hu Adamah Shatoitzi Ha'aretz Eitz Pri Shia Taimei Ketam Pri, that the tam of the eitz should be the same tam as the pri. The taste of the tree should be the same as the fruit. Hainu She'aska Shel Adam Yolam Hazeh Yebilti L'Hashem Levadei, that everything that a person does in this world should be only for Hashem, not the mitzvahs that we do for Hashem, but even the gashmis that we do should be all for Hashem. The eating should be 100% for Hashem. The drinking should be 100% for Hashem. The kedoima, v'yetama ketam ha'pri, hainu ketam ha'mitzvah v'atzmai, which means that the tree, the physical, should taste the same as the pri, as the toitzos, which means It's not only when we're doing lulav and esrog and giving tzedakah and saying berachas hamazon and learning Torah should be for Hashem. It's even the thing that brings us to those things. The working, the eating, the drinking should all be for Hashem. Aval Adamah lo yaseh kein asasa. The earth didn't do that. The Bas Ayin is now mechadish that on the contrary, because there's tremendous shechicha, the earth didn't see the Or Hashem. The Or made a mistake, or the Or wasn't able to produce the ability for us to fuse the Gashmias with the Ruchnias. And Machmas Goydel Hester V'Achoshech Niskalkel Zev V'Rak HaMitzvah B'Atzmi Yesh Letam. Only right now the mitzvah has a tam. When we work, we don't feel anything. We don't feel in his hiris. When a person does a mitzvah, very hard mitzvah, and afterwards he was able to do a chesed for somebody, he didn't want to give tzedakah, he pushed himself, he learned for an hour, he feels geschmack. When we work, even though the money that we earn is not going to help us to do mitzvahs, we don't feel anything. When we eat or we drink coffee, right, a person wants to go learn, he's very tired, he makes himself a geschmack of coffee, doesn't feel anything, he just likes the taste. But the way the world was supposed to be was that just like when you do the mitzvah, you feel some his iris, so too, when you drank the coffee, you should feel some his iris. However, through tshuva kasher adam shavel Hashem mahapech hashuch le'nohira. A person has the ability to turn the choshech to nohira. He has the ability to turn the forgetfulness into openness, into visual realization of what's going on. V'nasa tam ma'asav hash'asa gashmis ketam apri. Tzadikim gedolim, since they're completely connected to Hashem, memela, even when they do davar gashmias, they feel it because they see it's all avodas Hashem. I'm going to work now because that is the avodas Hashem. It's actually a mitzvah. I'm doing a mitzvah by going to work. You know what the mitzvah is? It's going to help me make money. It's going to help me support my family. It's going to help me buy a lulav and an esrog and tefillin and svarim and give tzedakah and do chesed. At that point, that the world is at that level, the earth will be and have received its final ticket. The world will return to its original state where the fruits and the tree will have the same taste. It should be quickly with the days of Mashiach. At the time, we will then be able to call the fruits of the ground, because the fruits and the ground will be the same. The ground, the tree, and the fruits will all have the same taste. So too, it's a reference to Klal Yisrael at that time. When we do Gashmias, we'll have the same. It's Iris. We will see Hashem when we do Gashmias, just like when we do mitzvahs. So the Bas Ayin is teaching us that the original concept, the original state of the world was that the fruits of the tree and the tree itself should have the same taste. Which means that when we serve Hashem, not only is there his iris when we do the mitzvah, it's not only that we're doing a mitzvah, right? Why does a person do lulav and esrog? Only for one purpose, for the purpose of fulfilling the commandments of Hashem. There's no me in doing it lulav and esrog. When I put on ta'as and tefillin, it's only because that's what Hashem wanted. There's no personal benefit. It's 100% Hashem. So too, the original state was when I went to work, it should be 100% for Hashem. When I ate and drank, should be 100% Hashem. But because Hashem created shechicha, and our avodah is to reveal that choshech, we don't see it. But amidst Hashem, we will see it. That's what the pasuk teaches. The pasuk is teaching us that is the function, that was the purpose of the world, that the ground should bring forth fruits that have the same taste. That doing gashmis should have the same tam as doing a mitzvah. Right? When a person does a mitzvah, he creates light, he creates shefa. If a person would understand, when I do work and I eat gashmis, right? We all know that in Kabbalah, the part of eating is to raise the kedusha that's in the food up to Shemayim. Happens to be, it tastes good. Hashem gave us a matana that food tastes good. Right? People have different preferences, but the food that people like, it tastes good. Otherwise, people wouldn't eat it. People wouldn't eat it. They wouldn't have strength to do Torah mitzvahs. And that's what it says. This is hinted, this concept that we should take the physical and be able to understand when we see physical, when we see Torah, when we see, business, when we see food, when we see drinks, we see a coffee, we see Hashem, is hinted in the Maimer Chazal that's brought in Gemara Rosh Hashanah. B'tishrei nivra ha'olam. Pirish, shebrias ha'olam hoisa b'tishrei. What does it mean? B'shvil b'chinas tishrei. Not only says the Bas Ayin that the world, according to the Shita, was created in Tishrei, but it was created for the purpose of Tishrei, which is Loshoin Ashurenu, which is what Bilam said when he said the famous bracha to Klal Yisrael, Ki mirosh tzurim erenu, and I look and I see them from the tops of the mountain, umigavois Ashurenu, and I gaze upon them from the heights. The Loshoin Ashurenu, which we're going to see, is also similar to the word of Tishrei, is a language of looking. Lashon histalkos, lashon of gazing. Shemistakel b'chol ma'aseh, that he looks at everything that he does. Sheyiyel Hashem. So the purpose of creation is Tishrei, that you should constantly look that everything that we do in this world is l'kavod Hashem. Mashahoyila b'tchilas b'chinas seiser b'choshech. This that originally was created, that we shouldn't see Hashem, that should be hidden. Nishapik oich samech. The letter Samach becomes a shin. The nichnas bein tov ubein reish, and it comes now between the tes, the tov, and the reish. So again, just to make it clear, we have the word seiser. Seiser is Samach, tov, reish. Seiser means hidden. Our job is to take the Samach, the Hashem that's hidden in the Samach, in the circle, and make it a shin. Then we take the shin and we put it between the letters tov and reish. We add a yud, which is Hashem. Now we have the word Tishrei. That's what the Bas Ayin is teaching us. The world originally was created in darkness, with Seiser. Our job is to take the Samach, open it up, right? The Samach is a circle. Inside the circle, which we don't see, is Hashem. So our job is to open it up, take out Hashem, and by taking out Hashem, we now create a shin, right? You open up the Samach, you have two handles, so to speak. Then you create a line, which is the recognition of Hashem. You have a shin, you put the shin between the taf and the reish. How do we do that? By recognizing the yud, alufa shel oilam, says the Bas Ayin. And now you have the word Tishrei, gematria eser pam tzadik aleph, shehi bechinas v'Hashem beheichal kodshoy, ayidei shetikein kol hasheva midas l'Hashem. When a person is misaken his 7 midos that he uses on a daily basis, we know that there's 10 midos. If one uses the Sheva midos, he's misaken to Hashem. He now reveals that Hashem is in everything. That is the concept of Tishrei. V'haraya. What do we do on Tishrei? What do we do in Aleph Tishrei? We're mamlech Hashem. What does it mean we're mamlech Hashem? We recognize that not only is Hashem the king of the world, Hashem is the Hoya, Hoive, V'yiyah. Hashem Malach, Hashem Melech, Hashem Yimlech, Li'olam V'ed. When we do that, we recognize that everything in this world, even the Gashmis, is all Hashem. This table that our sefer is on, the chair that we're all sitting on, is not a table made out of metal or wood. It's not a chair that's made out of metal or wood or fiberglass. It's Hashem. When we get to that level, as we mentioned, when the Lev Simcha saw the river, he saw Hashem. He saw the Yud Kei Vav Kei. Tzaddikim, when they see things, they don't see the physical thing. They see the Gashmias. How do we do that? We do that by doing this Sheva Midos. Zeshama Akosu B'Chodesh Hashvi Be'echod LaChodesh. Hainu Keshenes Chadesh B'China Hashvi B'China Sheva Midos Shaloi. Oz Nase Rosh Hashanah, which is Gematria Eser Pam Elokim. What are the Sheva Midos? The Sheva Midos are Chesed, Gevura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hoid, Yisoid, and Malchus. These are all things that are merumas, that are hinted to the person's legs, person's hands, and his bodies. You have the 3 other midas, which is bina, das, tuna. That is something else. But when a person does the physical, he takes this world and creates it to Hashem. Void ois echad l'ram is l'bchinas dvekus ba'alufa shel olam. V'zehu rak ba'veisecha choshak Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu told Klal Yisrael that the reason we get Eretz Yisrael is only because Hashem loved the Avos. That our job is to be mesake in this world, to bring it back to the Avos, which were the Zayin Midos. Yaakov, which was the choices of the Avos, Yaakov, Kemispa Zayin Pa'om Shem Esen Baruch Hu. L'ramez l'tikun hasheva hamidus now. So the Ben Ashri is teaching us that when the pasuk says that we should take the first fruits of the ground, it's really a hint to us. It's hinting to us derech avodas Hashem, that really when Hashem created the world, the initial ratzon of Hashem, which not the initial, the ratzon of Hashem was that the ground should create a tree where the tree and the fruit have the same taste. The earth didn't do what Hashem wanted. That's why the earth was cursed. The earth had bechira. And now there was what's called choshech seiser, hidden in the world. We don't see the gashmis is really elokos. We see gashmis, we see a cup of coffee, we see a piece of meat, we see a piece of fish, we see business. Our job is to understand that this is all Hashem. When we do that, we reveal elokos, we masak and design midos, and we bring the world back to its creative state, which is lakachta meirashis called priha Adamah. We bring the world to the bechina of Tishrei, that we are looking at everything with, as the Mashkiach or Moshe Wolfson used to say, with himmel dika oigen, with godly eyes. Which is yomim ilohim. What does it mean yomim ahim? Those days. So the simple pshat is the kohen that's in the Beis Hamikdash. The Ben Ashri says no, that's also referring to the higher spiritual days of the Yom Noraim, Bechina Sheva Midos. V'chein tziva Kadosh Baruch Hu lachavi bikurim meshivas aminim. That's why, says the Bas Ayin, that we have to bring specifically bikurim from 7 minim. Why? Because the 7 minim are hinted to the 7 midos that a person has. And what the pasuk is teaching us, that each different type of fruit is corresponding to one of the different types of midos. And when you bring each fruit to the Beis Hamikdash, you're masakin the midos, you're masakin it to Hashem. What happens by Bikkurim? We take a band or like a little ribbon and we tie it around the fruit. So when we see the fruit, we don't see an apple, we see the mitzvah of Bikkurim. When we do that, we're masakin each species corresponding to each midos. And there is not only in Eretz Yisrael, which is, as we know, the highest level, because there's nothing like Kedushas Eretz Yisrael. Befrat, eating from the food of Eretz Yisrael is Machnas Kedusha. And Amen, Ken Yiratzon, that we should get to that level, that we are Maila, all of our midas to the ultimate purpose, to be Mesaken, Kvoid, Malchus Shemayim.